When I close my eyes at night, I don't see darkness. I see the factory, its gaping maw of rust and shadows, and I hear the hum of a machine that shouldn't be running. That hum is my tether to what happened, to what I left behind. 2 years ago, I was sent to inspect an abandoned textile factory in a border town. My company manufactured and repaired industrial looms, and this was supposed to be a simple job. Assess the machines, write a report, and go home. The building had been dormant for years, and the new owner wanted it operational. The factory stood at the edge of a derelict industrial estate, its walls streaked with grime and its windows dark like dead eyes. Even before stepping inside, I felt its weight. Not just its size, but something else. A presence that made my skin prickle. The gates groaned as I pushed them open, a sound that echoed into silence. The yard was a graveyard of twisted scrap metal and weeds. The air smelled foul, like old oil and something sweetly rotten. Inside, the factory floor stretched endlessly, the machinery casting skeletal shadows in the dim light streaming through grime-caked windows. The dust in the air coated my lungs, making every breath feel heavy. I focused on my task, trying to ignore the way the silence seemed to deepen around me. The defunct looms, massive and ancient, stood like monoliths. Some were half buried in debris, others intact but lifeless. I'd been at it for an hour when I noticed one loom that didn't match the others. It was clean. While every other surface in the factory was coated in years of grime, this machine gleamed. Fresh grease streaked its gears, and the metal looked polished. My first instinct was that someone had been there before me, though the factory's records said otherwise. Then I felt it. A faint vibration beneath my feet, barely perceptible, like the hum of something alive. As I crouched to check the gears, a sound reached me. Low, muffled, a groan. At first, I thought it was the wind, but there was no breeze. I froze, straining to hear it again. When the sound came back, weak and guttural, I followed it. My flashlight's beam trembled when I saw the hand. It was human, or had been once. Thin, pale, skeletal. Its fingers twitched, as though trying to grasp something, just out of reach. I lowered the beam, and there it was. A face, hollow-eyed and shrunken, staring at me. His skin was taut over his skull, his lips cracked and quivering. His body was tangled in the machinery, rods piercing through his flesh, gears grinding against him. It was impossible for him to be alive. Yet his eyes followed me, filled with a silent plea that made my stomach churn. The logical part of my mind screamed that this couldn't be real. No one could survive like this, caught in steel jaws for who knows how long. But the man blinked, his mouth moving soundlessly. The floor vibrated beneath me again, stronger this time. A metallic clang rang out, echoing through the cavernous space. My flashlight flickered, and the shadows around me shifted, thickening like smoke. There was a steel plate with crumbs of food next to his head. Someone was feeding him. Someone had done this to a fellow human being. The thought twisted in my mind like a blade. The gleaming loom, its polished gears, these weren't signs of maintenance, but of malice. It was a stage set for suffering. The cruelty wasn't just in the act, but in its precision. This was the work of madman who relished a deliberate kind of torment. This wasn't rage. It was craftsmanship. Sickened by the implications, fearful of what this discovery meant for my own well-being, I ran. Like a coward. By the time I burst out into the light, my lungs were burning. But I didn't stop running until I reached my car. Then I drove like a demon till I reached my office. I reported the incident to my boss, who thought I'd gone mad. The next day, he sent another technician to take my place. That man disappeared, without a trace. The police combed the factory, but there was nothing. No blood, no signs of a struggle. Just his tools, left behind like an afterthought. They found no evidence of the prisoner I had described, the hollow-eyed, pleading figure entwined in the machinery. Since that day, the factory refuses to let me go. It lives in my dreams, its looms grinding endlessly in the darkness. I hear his voice, weak and splintered, calling out for help that never comes. I see his hand twitching, his gaze following me, those sunken eyes still horribly, impossibly alive. The worst part is knowing I left him there, that my colleague had been sent to cover my failure and vanished into thin air.